What is going on, YouTube universe? Welcome to the Hip and Shoulder, and today it is all about Supercoach, taking a reflection on my round 3 scores and having a look at the moves that I'm going to make heading into round 4. And overall, I didn't do too bad for round 3, could have done a hell of a lot better. I had a handful of players that if they had just even hit their averages, I would have pushed probably 2,000 Supercoach points. But we fell on the wayside of 1,838, just a little bit less than what we did the previous week. We did fall 176 places overall, so I'm still 71,352 out of the 1,082,000, so we're not sitting too bad, but we could be doing a hell of a lot better. I'm hoping the moves we make this week go a long way to getting bigger and better scores. Fingers crossed, because I'm going to be rolling the dice with one of the moves I'm making this week. But that now takes us to how my team performed, so let's go have a look, shall we? In my back 6, we had some pretty average outcomes. I mean, Harry Sheezel's only averaging 92, he goes and gets us an 89, so unders from what we're expecting, but I'm holding thick and thin with him. Give him a few more weeks, and come mid-year, if he's still underperforming, we can move him out to somebody else. At the moment, he is still giving us solid enough scores to register, viability to keep him. Playing a different role, maybe he shifts back to a familiar role eventually, who knows, but we got the 89 out of him. Jordan Clark, again, yet to deliver a score under 100. I'm very happy that we started with him, but in doing so, we faded Dane Zorko, and I'm spewing we didn't start him. I knew he was going to have a red-hot start, and his next month is going to be huge, so just wait till later on in the video for him. Matt Roberts didn't play, obviously. I did have Zach Reed's 88 come off the bench, and we did use Roberts as a captain's loophole. Joel Frazier, 68. A little bit down on output, but again, this was another game that he was on very low numbers for a long period of time and then started to kick it into gear. With Bontempelli still out for a few more weeks, with Adam Treloar still out for a few more weeks, he's still going to get midfield minutes. He's still scoring well enough to keep around. He's still got money to make, so I'm not moving him just yet. However, SDK, Sam De Koning, I'm a little bit concerned about this. He moved to a more defensively sound role in this game. He was subbed out of the game with no injury. We have Reece Stanley potentially coming back into the ruck. I think it's alarm bells for Sam De Koning. And while I downgraded him from Lockie Ash to bank some money and use elsewhere, which I'm not regretting, that was a good trade, it might be time to get off of the Sam De Koning train with everything that's kind of going around with him. So he will be one of the players I'm moving on this week. Luke Traynor gave us a 90. I am very happy with that. And this is the standard I think he can deliver to, because he is very clean with the ball. He just needs opportunity to get his hands onto it. There are a few times where early on he would turn the ball over, he'd handball it and it wouldn't be effective. But this game really showed what he is all about. He is all about attack on the ball, physical presence, clean set of hands. I'm hoping this is the start of a climb for Luke Traynor. Obviously on the bench, Ben Patton didn't play because Sydney had the bye, and as I mentioned, we took Zach Reed's 88 to cover the loss of Matt Roberts. My midfield, Andrew Brayshaw, again, brilliant pick. I'm backing in my Fremantle boys. They have a bye-friendly fixture, and they've all been performing to an incredibly high standard. Andrew Brayshaw, one of the best on the field for Fremantle that day, and ultimately one of the best, if not the best. I think he was actually the best for my team this weekend, and deservingly so. Lachie Neale, 71, average of 81.7. He's killing me. I thought about pulling the trigger on him last week. I'm sticking thick and thin. He's got Richmond this week, and Brisbane's fixture for the next probably 5 to 6 weeks favour him quite well. He just can't handle a tag. He got tagged in the Sydney game, had very low numbers, bounced back 2 weeks ago and got a high score, then got heavily tagged in this game and couldn't shake it. So there's going to be games where he underperforms with the tag. When he doesn't get tagged, however, he's still going to give us monster scores. So at the moment, he's still sitting thick and thin in my team as well. Adam Cerra, 98. I'm keeping him. I'm looking at Adam Cerra potentially being my M8 come the end of the year. He is giving us solid numbers, and for somebody that I was considering fading a few weeks ago, has proven me wrong. He's really relishing this year's opportunities that he's being given, and if he keeps giving us 90 to 100 each week, I'm comfortable to keep him. Oliver, 101 average, but again, another 80. I don't know whether it's all the free kicks he gives away. I don't know whether it is sometimes due to just inaccuracy with the ball. But he's starting to get a little bit frustrating because these are numbers that I would not be wanting to get out of him. These are numbers that I am expecting, mid prices that are much cheaper than him to be pumping out. This is a player that we all picked this year to potentially keep. And if Oliver keeps only giving us like 80 odd points each round, he might be one of the first mid prices I upgrade to an Ultra Primo. That's just where I'm currently sitting with him. Finn Callaghan, 55 after the red hot start he has had this year. I don't know whether it's because time was put into him for the Hawthorn game. So again, falling victim to the Lockie Neal curse. Can Finn Callaghan not handle a tag? I'm not moving on him just yet because he's the type of player that'll bounce back and score another 100 plus over the next few weeks. So I'm not going to touch Finn Callaghan off of his first blemish of the year, given what we have seen from him so far. Levi Ashcroft, 36. Very down on output considering, his average at 64. He's been pumping solid 70s out for us. This was a bit down, but again, not going to go the early crow. We're not expecting big numbers from our rookies every week. It's different when it comes to a Callaghan or an Oliver. Those type of players for their price points, we do expect a bit more. But for these rookies, they're still making plenty of cash even with these low numbers, so there's no point getting rid of them. Finn O'Sullivan, 44. I did keep him for one particular reason, because by the end of round 5, he should get defensive DPP, which means I can move on somebody like a Reed or even a Patton, move Finn Sullivan to my back line, and that gives me another viable rookie option in case I need to use it. Lindsay subbed out. I think I broke him. I'm sorry, Supercoaches. I am known by some of my friends as the kiss of death when it comes to Supercoach, because there's many times where I trade in a player and they go and do themselves a mischief, and I did it again. Lindsay goes and hurts his knee within the opening minutes of the game, scores 9 Supercoach. I had him on field, unfortunately. Thank fuck we only take top 18 scores out of these buys because his score did not count. The good news is, it seems like it only was a sprain and he could actually be available to play this week. I'm not expecting him to play. They might just rest him for a week to give it a bit of a break. But I'm not trading him yet because he still has plenty of money to make, and he has proven to be a solid Supercoach scorer too. His average only plummeted because he scored this 9. Without that, he was still averaging very good numbers, so I'm happy to keep him. Mitch Nevitt only scored 20 this week. He was the starting sub. A little bit worried about him. If he's only going to be starting sub and pumping out small numbers, once he hits his peak cash-wise, he's probably going to be the first one gone for me, which is upsetting. Lucas Camporelli got fucking dropped. I don't know why they've dropped him out of the team. He was actually performing quite well, Supercoach aside. I don't know whether they were thinking they needed to bring in senior heads, but whatever's happening at Carlton, they need to start playing players like Camporelli, because all these senior players, they're running around with, headless chooks right now. They can't afford to be not giving these young kids opportunities, I feel. I thought Lucas Camporelli was holding his own well on that wing, and it still stumps me as to why he got dropped. Boxall's still yet to play. He was rumoured to potentially come in last week for a debut. Maybe this week, who knows? But there's still a couple of rookies that haven't even debuted yet that I've got my eyes on, so it could be an easy shift to one of those when the time comes. In the ruck, my big trade last week was bringing in Cherry for Gawn. They pretty much scored about the same, but I think overall Cherry's going to have a better year than Gawn. I still think Gawn is down on morale with whatever is going on off-field, and I think Cherry is set to potentially take the reins as this year's number 1 ruck. I had a down week this week, but I just love his physicality about it. I think this move was a good move. Nankervis goes 123. Very happy with that, considering how well Rowan Marshall played. This is why I was happy to go Gawn instead of Nank. I'm backing Nank in. Nankervis could very well end up being my flex player by the mid-season buy rounds. That's what I'm looking at potentially doing. If the time is appropriate, it might even happen sooner. Boyd not playing on the bench doesn't concern me. Gives me a loophole option. I don't like having them. I would have rathered a full bench of rookies that are playing. But there are some rookie options that we could potentially look to moving forward if we wanted to go down that route. In my forward line, we kept Jason Horne-Francis. He pumps out an 82. He looks so disinterested. He doesn't want to win a hard ball. He's turning it over way too often. He's been playing in the forward 50 more often than not. Not the role we thought he was going to play, and I'm getting rid of him this week. I gave him another week out of a reprieve. I thought we'll let him bounce back. He should go good this week. He did shit house. He's gone. I'm sorry. And we're rolling the dice and taking an incredibly big risk with who we're bringing in for him this week. But I think it's going to pay dividends moving forward. Jack Macrae, 120. I honestly thought after the 160 he pumped out against Richmond, he would have gone 150. But I did take the 120 as the vice-captain score, which is why I captained Matt Roberts. He's going to end up being the number one forward for Supercoach this year. If you didn't start him, I think you're missing the boat. You've still got plenty of time, though. Given he's only 470, you can make some moves, especially if you've got someone like a Horn Francis and don't have a Jack Macrae. But I think with the numbers he's pumping out now, Jack Macrae should be 100% owned, and if he's not, you're fucking crazy. Bailey Smith, we get him in, gives me an 81. I'm still going to take that every day of the week, though. He's going to be a sublime player. He'll end up being a top 6 mid. You're going to expect scores like 80s to 90s and 100s from him, but he's going to average well enough to over 100, I think, moving forward. Caleb Daniel, again, another solid start. I'm glad I picked him. Perfect role being played at North Melbourne, and he's just going to continue pumping out 100s every week. He's one of the players that I had locked from get-go as soon as Supercoach opened, and I'm so glad to see him return to form and actually enjoying his football after what Luke Beveridge did to him. Same with Bailey Smith as well, for that matter of fact. Sam Davidson finally repays faith to all the fucking coaches who brought him in during the preseason. He had a monster game against Hawthorn in that preseason game, and I brought him in because I've obviously seen him play in Richmond's VFL. I know what he's capable of, and he comes out with 129 Supercoach. It's not going to happen every week, but if he can average the 80 points that he's currently averaging right now, I'll be happy to keep him at F6 for a very long time. Tom Lynch, I have to keep him out of necessity right now. He hasn't had a price rise yet, but I do have moves to do with him over the coming weeks. Only got a 42, was monstered by Cal Wilkie. Cal Wilkie has his number every time we play him. He's due to start hitting straps with 70s and 80s. I can feel it. It's just, I don't know if it's just the time away from the game that he took, but I'm still not regretting that pick. We could have taken Pal Pepper instead, who gave us a low number one week and then a high number the other week, but he's up and down as well, so we'll take what we can get. Kako was on my bench, didn't have the emergency on him. He scored a 62. I probably would have rathered him on the field than Lynch, and that's probably the move I'm going to make moving forward. And Elijah Hewitt comes out with 22. I think he was the sub for West Coast, so again, a bit concerning. Maybe when he hits his price rise stoppage, I'm going to get him out. And Nathan O'Driscoll has been my favourite pick, I feel, out of all the rookies. I put him in the flex, and I'm happy to do so. And when it comes to moving him elsewhere, he's going to be a lock in my midfield. At the moment, he's scoring well enough to keep ultimately as an M7, M8 option. He's averaging 96. I don't think he scored under 90 all year. He's doing better than Clayton Oliver. Huge. However, I did say the moves I was going to make this week, so we're going to have to do a little bit of maneuvering around here, I feel. What we are going to do is we're going to move Lindsay to the bench. We are going to move O'Driscoll onto the field, and we're going to have Nevitt in the flex this week, just in case, who knows. The trades I am going to make, I did say it, I'm going to trade Jason Horne-Francis, and we are trading Sam De Koning, while the loading page decides to fuck me around a little bit. There we go. There we go. Jason Horne-Francis out, De Koning out. It says that I've used a boost, but I haven't used a boost. I did, just hypothetically, just to play around with some ideas, but I'm only using the 2 trades this week. The first of which is bringing in Dane Zorko for Sam De Koning. I'm spewing I faded him at the start of the year. I even considered going him instead of Harry Sheasel, but I'm bringing him in now. He's playing Richmond this week, so he should go 130 plus. Then he plays teams like the Bulldogs, St Kilda, and Collingwood within the next month, and I feel he goes 110, 120 against those teams as well. So if you're not on Dane Zorko yet, this might be the week that you bring him in before he starts continuing these monster scores and gets a little bit out of reach. This also solidifies a very strong back 6 for me, because I'll have Sheasel, Clark, Zorko, Roberts, and Fraser, and then I've only got that rookie spot. And if Trainer and Reed can be averaging these 80 points, then I'm happy to keep them around for a little bit. We've also got some DPPs going down, as I said, so Finn O'Sullivan will be able to move back. Players like Josh Dacos might be able to get picked up on a cheap as an option for back there as well. So very interesting to see where those players land come after round 5, because I've got my eyes on a few players that could potentially get DPP, but might not, depending on their percentages. But I've got some contingency plans just in case. And with some particular DPPs, I'm happy to move Jason Horne-Francis on now, because when you've got players like Christian Petrarca potentially becoming a forward, we have avenue to bring in players that we know are at least going to average a hell of a lot more than what Horne-Francis has been pumping out. The ball roll that I am making, or the dice roll rather, that I'm making this week, I'm spewing I didn't start Jai Simpkin as well. He was one that, if you followed my preseason team, Jai Simpkin was a mid-pricer that I was heavily considering, and I still might consider bringing him in at one point. But for now, it's a huge dice roll. It was between two players. It was this week between Ryan Marrick from West Coast and Bailey Humphrey from the Gold Coast. There is a 5k difference in price between the two of them. It banks me a fair bit of money to make this move. And I had to weigh up their roles as well. Ryan Marrick obviously playing in defence, taking some kick-ins. Bailey Humphrey playing forward but getting midfield minutes. I was trying to work out which way to go, because West Coast is going to have the ball more often than not in their defensive 50. So getting in Marrick would be the right move, I feel. But if Bailey Humphrey is getting midfield minutes in a team that has a midfield stack like the Gold Coast, I am going to go with Bailey Humphrey here. The move I'm going to make potentially next week, depending on price rising, is looking to bring in Marrick for Tom Lynch. Tom Lynch had a very low break-even, I believe. So if he can get up to about 200k, and I've only got to come up with 60k, 70k to go to a Ryan Marrick, I've already got 50k sitting in the bank here. So that could be my potential next move. Bailey Humphrey is being downgraded, but brought in as a stepping stone. He's going to make us 100k, maybe 150, and then I can jump him up to somebody like a Jai Simpkin. I can jump him up to somebody like a Christian Petrarca when the time comes. For, obviously, all intents and purposes, Zorko's being brought in as a keeper 100%. I'm happy with these moves. Very happy with these moves. If I was to use the boost this week, I could flirt and play around. I think Lindsay leaves me the $800 short. No, it leaves me just short. Yeah, just short of being able to get in Marrick. Otherwise, I would make that move. I could do it. Could I do it with Finn O'Sullivan? Oh, that's... No, I couldn't do it with Finn O'Sullivan, but that's now giving me ideas. Oh, it's giving me ideas, and I shouldn't be flirting with ideas here, because obviously, as I said, Tom Lynch doesn't get us close enough just yet. We're still 30k off. Yeah, I'm not going to make any more trades than I need to. I've already burnt 2 boosts. So my trades this week, ladies and gentlemen, Horne-Francis and Sam De Koning are both out. Bailey Humphrey and Dane Zorko both in, which takes me to my vice captaincy and captaincy options this week. Now, this is hard for me because it needs to be one of Neil or Zorko for the captaincy. That's pretty basic. I'm going to go with Zorko. I feel he should go 130. I think Neil should go 110, 120 quite comfortably. Looking at my other options here, though, Callaghan could monster West Coast. This is going to be interesting. Callaghan could go huge against West Coast. We've got Smith, who could go huge against Melbourne. I think what we're going to do, because I don't think West Coast have a designated tagger, do they? So Callaghan, sorry, could go big. So what I might do is I'm going to roll... Yeah, I could do that. Oh, could be risky, though. I hate this. I hate this so much. If I had Jack Sinclair in my team, he'd be a great option for captain this week as well. I just want to make sure we're landing the right punches here. I think I'm going to go the vice captaincy on Zorko and take a chance take a chance on Callaghan with the captaincy. You've got to take a gamble sometimes. If Callaghan comes out and goes 120, but I mean, we're backing Zorko in to get 130 anyway, which means we're looking at potentially bringing in a player to throw the emergency on. So I think what we're going to do, just in case, is we're going to field Zach Reed, and we're going to have the emergency on Luke Trainer. So we get his points, but Zach Reed is on the field, so we can take that loophole from Zorko if we need it. By that point as well, we would have known. We would have known. And worst case scenario, coming up against the Bulldogs, I could potentially go somebody like an Andrew Brayshaw or a Jordan Clark and move into that captaincy spot as well, if I'm not feeling the Callaghan move. But that's how we're going to end for heading into round 4. After round 5, it's going to be interesting to see how the DPPs fly. And then obviously by around, 11, 12, 13, those kind of areas when we get the mid-season buys, that's when more DPPs come out and the game's going to get more interesting. But I've got my eyes on a few, and if you're taking the game seriously, you should have your eyes on a few as well, especially for players in the midfield. I mean, if Clayton Oliver keeps underperforming to his standards, we can move him on. We can stepping stone Bailey Humphrey, I feel, within the next probably 3 to 4 weeks. And we've got rookies that are scoring well enough that if they continue to do so, we can keep. Davidson, Trainer, Reed, O'Driscoll. I'm not getting rid of Ashcroft or O'Sullivan just yet, but I think they need to start showing a little bit more, especially O'Sullivan, given the role he's playing. But I'm happy with my team so far. I think the moves we made this week are moves that needed to happen. I'm happy to fade Horn Francis because Zorko is giving us almost double the scoring output. And Bailey Humphrey is scoring well for a mid-pricer. He's going to get us a lot of cash generated and is an easy stepping stone to an ultimate primo. So I'm happy. Lock it in, Eddie. We're getting it done. That is it for today's episode. Before I leave, if you want to join my Supercoach League, it is free to do so. There are links in the description down below. And if you want to get on board my free tipping competition as well, feel free to check out the description as well. I'll link the league code and everything down there. Get on board. I'm hoping to land 100 tipsters by the end of the year. So if you want to get on board, again, free to play for both of them. Let's have some fun. That's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. If you do play Supercoach, good luck to your team this weekend. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.